want to make sure that I acknowledge the sponsor of the show, Teach Henley, because Teach Henley sent me this new pack. They sent me the new Teach pack, so I just literally pulled the paper out, got it out of the mail, and I started going through it, and I got a little bit more excited than I should. You know what I'm saying? So they did send me the Teach pack, and I don't even know what this is yet. So I'm assuming this is what you get when you first order your Teach, and I don't know what this is. Oh, this is dope. This is absolutely dope. Is this a nail kit? Ladies, get this for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. This is free. This just comes with it. 30% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Literally. Oh, snaps. I didn't know that they were sending it like this. Real talk. So this is the nail kit that they sending you. All right. So now you ain't looking like a dusty. This is a free gift straight from Teach for the people that ordered the Teach. They got the small one for the little hands like mine's. They got the big joints for your toenails. And then they got the joints at the bottom too. You know what I'm saying? For y'all that's a little bit more crustier than usual. All right. So that's one of the free gifts that Teach got inside of the pack. And then what is this? Says squeeze a quarter size amount of Teach Hanley body wash on the center of the wet bristles. Lather, scrub, rinse, and repeat for the perfectly satisfying wash every time. So that's inside of there also, right? Ooh, I can get my rubber ducky on right here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Teach for sending me that uncomplicated skincare for men. And then what we got in here? We got the actual Teach pack, right? So this is the normal Teach pack. But then they gave me the supersized joint for the people. They wanted me to show the people exactly what they got when they ordered that first Teach pack, when you're getting your 30% off your first order, and then you get your free gifts. You get 2 free gifts, and then the 20% off for life. So the 20% off for life is a new thing. And, dang, I ain't even got my keys on me to open this up. Maybe I can use the little nail clipper thing. I ain't got to buy no nail clipper for my new joint downtown. And then you get all of the washes, all of the scrubs, all of the AM, the PMs, and all of that stuff. So you got the whole thing inside of there for you to make sure you take care of yourself. But you got to make sure you take care of it every day, right? We don't want to miss days. We don't want to be looking like dusties. It does not absolve you from being able to make sure that you brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. It don't fix the teeth problem. Don't fix you ironing your clothes. Don't fix you being able to take care of your business. But it absolutely makes sure that your skin is phenomenal, even when you go in between shaves. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Teach Henley. We absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to hold us down. I might do an official Teach commercial, but I like just talking authentically to the people. I like giving the people the authentic look of what it is that you're dealing with, and I want you to hear from me personally. Because anybody can do that little pitch and they can make some little videos, but very few of us can actually speak to the products of exactly what it is that you're supposed to use. So yeah, Teach Hanley, 30% off your first order and then 20% off for life. That's the Anton Daniels pack, 20% off for life. Using any other Teach pack, make sure that you go ahead and let that go. And make sure you tap into the link that's in the description and take care of it, all right? What's going on is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. You know we switching it up on the platform. So one of the things that I want to do for you guys is I want to introduce some more mature conversations. In order for us to do so, we're going to have to take things in a little bit of a different direction. So you know on the Anton Daniels show, which I introduced to you guys, a new way in which we're having conversations. We do it 2 ways. This is the second way, which I'm introducing to you guys. The first way is we do pre-recorded content in which I speak to issues that are very, very meaningful and dear to my heart, such as politics, culture, but how we're affected on a daily basis. I have to preview this or preface this by saying that somebody has sent me a video earlier this morning of this young lady, which I think is kind of inspirational, and I'm going to bring her up on the platform shortly. But they sent me a video of this woman, and so I reacted to it immediately without even thinking about it. But then after I reacted to it, I thought to myself, I should reach out to her in order for her to be able to convey and talk about certain things, because as I researched her, I learned a little bit more about her. And so I think that this is going to be a phenomenal night. It's going to be one of the best nights that we've had this year on this platform in particular. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're here. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. And in addition to that, before I introduce this woman, I did put the links to her platforms, including Instagram and YouTube, in the description of the video. So if you want to learn more about her, if you want to support her, and if you want to actually subscribe to her platform to see how she's conveying her message, feel free to do so by either clicking her profile inside of the title of this video or clicking her YouTube channel or her Instagram in the description of the video. Without further ado, I don't want to bore you guys with my rhetoric, but I do have some questions that I want to ask her. I am going to bring her up right now, and her name is Bianca. All right, so welcome to the show, B.
Hey Anton, thank you so much for having me. It's a
I
pleasure to be here.
appreciate you. When I first reached out to you, you seemed apprehensive about coming on the platform.
Definitely. I honestly just try to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and it doesn't take much. When I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've done very few, probably not even 25% of the interviews or live streams that I've been asked to be on, just because it doesn't feel aligned. It doesn't feel like it's meant for me. And it just felt pretty good when you reached out. So that's why I'm here.
I appreciate that. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you and allow for you to be able to tell your story. Before we get into the story, I would ask you, what is it that you want us to know about you that maybe, some people that have not necessarily subscribed to your content yet or checked you out, what should they know about your background before we start to deep dive into your story?
Ooh, that's a great question. And I don't know how to answer that in just a few seconds. But what I can say is that I love God, and I want to live my entire life for him. And I want to say that in me saying that, it has nothing to do with my diagnosis. It has nothing to do with the things that I've been through. I've just encountered God in very real ways. And I do feel like everything that I've been through in my life has just been kind of God extending his grace and his mercy out towards me, and me finally doing my part and reaching back out to him. So it's not a cop out. It's
Yeah.
my life, and it's a life that I gladly lay on his feet, at his feet.
So, in addition to your story, you got to educate us, right? Because, we like to entertain and we like to talk about different subjects and everything like that, right?
Right.
But more importantly, I think that this is an opportunity for people to learn not just about you, but through you to learn how that they can manage through this situation, how they can
Mhm.
maybe prevent the situation. If it's anything that you don't feel comfortable answering, then feel free to just say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable answering that. It's no pressure whatsoever.
Mhm.
But I think that we should probably start from the beginning because you mentioned in the video that I reviewed earlier about having a troublesome background or,
Yeah.
being raised a certain way and that then impacting, what then ultimately, I guess we'll get into what your story then became. What do you mean by a troublesome background? Oh man, I hope she's not frozen. Are
I'm
you
a
there,
little
B?
frozen.
Okay,
Do you
don't
mind
worry about it.
repeating that? What do I mean by what?
What do you mean by a troublesome background? When you explained in the video, you were explaining that you had a troublesome background prior to being diagnosed or prior to going through the situation that you went through. What
Right.
do you mean by having a troublesome background?
Okay, so basically, we all have a purpose on this life, and I don't mean to get super spiritual or anything, but like, you are here for a purpose. It's not just that you're living your life and then you die. I mean, a lot of people live their lives without having lived out their full purpose. But I do. When I came into this world, I came to this world with the baggage from my parents, the baggage from their parents, and so on and so forth. And coming from a background of poverty and a Latina, the patriarchy was very strong, was very real. And so there was a lot of generational curses that I carried, mainly being
Mm.
sexual and
B, you
things.
breaking up. Bianca, you breaking up a little bit. Is it another device that you can tap into? Let me see if I can reach out to her. She breaking up. Give me a second, Joe. This is not pre-recorded. I'm gonna see if I can get her to grab a different device. Hold on one second. All right, I'm about to get her back up here right now. All right, there you go. You clear. You clear now. You super clear now. Can you hear me good?
Is this better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. Can you hear me good?
I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. The question that I was asking you is, how does your background affect, or what was your background like growing up that then affected how it is that you were ultimately, diagnosed, or what then caused you to be in a situation to where ultimately you had to succumb to whatever it is that you had to succumb to?
Yeah, so is this better now? Can you
Yeah,
guys
this
hear
is
me
really
good?
good. You look good.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Let me just take this down because it's not on. So yeah, so basically, my childhood was a very rough childhood. I mean, I grew up in the hood. It was scarred by poverty, um, my parents, trying to do the best that they can. My parents got separated at a very young age. I was 6 years old, and my first encounter with sexual assault happened at 7 years old. My great
Really?
grandfather, who was my caretaker, yeah, he was my caretaker. It began, yeah, like around 7.5. I can't really remember exactly when, but it persisted every single day for about 3.5 years because he took care of me. I lived with him. And it was something that I couldn't talk about. We didn't talk about it. I wasn't the first person in my family to experience sexual assault or incest within the family, but we just couldn't talk about it. And so I don't think that my experience is unique. I don't think that um, I think that it's actually unfortunately very common in our societies and communities. And as I grew up, I guess that confusion and pain and resentment just built and grew. And I had many more encounters that were less than favorable and that were all surrounded with the abuse of my body as I grew up.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So, is it one of those situations because I seen you and I was hanging on to every word of the video that you had did? Is it one of those situations where, because I know that in a lot of the black communities, and I can't necessarily speak to a lot of other communities, but from what I've heard in a lot of the black families and communities, that it's almost like a don't ask, don't ever mention it, don't let anything leave out of the household. If something happens, or if an uncle or somebody touches somebody or does something inappropriate with a child, in a lot of households, they literally sweep it under the rug. So it's not anything that you can necessarily deal with, or we're not dealing with it properly. And is that something that happened to you?
Absolutely. 100%. It, it was completely swept under the rug, and I lashed out. It really started with like rebellion. So a lot of times people say that when people, especially women, experience any kind of sexual assault, especially in their childhood, they go either two ways. Like they become complete prudes and like, don't want anything to do with men,
Mm-hmm.
or they go the opposite route where they get very promiscuous. And so I do think that there is another route. I think that the other route would be to get help, to address the situation, to get professional help, and to have a community to support the child going through the different feelings and emotions. Because in childhood sexual assault, there is something within us that is triggered and awakened far too soon. And so, while it is traumatizing and while it is horrific, it's also very confusing because it is our bodies, and the things that are happening to us also later become a source of pleasure. And so these are things that a child does not have the capabilities to understand nor process. And it becomes very confusing how to deal with the opposite sex or the sex that created or did the assault, um, in a way that is healthy because we weren't able to talk about it. So we don't even know how to interact with people
Yeah.
in a way that normal people that haven't experienced assault do.
Yep. Were you always this articulate and being able to communicate, or is this something that you've just recently mastered?
I mastered. Wow,
Well,
what a
well,
high
let me
honor.
tell you
Thank
why I
you.
asked this question. Let me because the story that you told was just so mind-boggling. It's like, no, that's not the person that I'm talking to right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So if I don't know if the people know, I mean, it does say it here on the banner, but I am HIV
Okay, so hold
positive.
on,
I've
hold on.
been.
Let me frame it. Let me frame it. So for the people that are not familiar with you, right? Can you
Right.
tell us the story in a general sense? Can you tell us a story? You can go into as much detail as you want to. I have time. Can you tell us a story of how you come to contract HIV in the first place for the people that's not familiar with your story?
All right. Of course. So, um, my name is Bianca, and I'm HIV positive. I've been HIV positive since 2019, and it's I can, deduce it to it being a night that I was drunk and I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But the truth of the matter is that that really wasn't the case. This was kind of like a culmination of all of the bad decisions that I made, all of the pain, all of the trauma, just kind of imploding and exploding at the same time on one night. And that is essentially what happened, the day that or the night that I met the person that infected me, which intentionally infected me with HIV. I was a broken vessel, like practically lifeless. I felt completely unlovable, completely unworthy. I felt like I had no value. And the reason that I felt this way is because I was looking for my value in other people, specifically men. Um, Especially since having been abused at such a young age and having that kind of just persist in my life as I got older, I found that my value was solely tied to what I could provide to a person or what I could provide for a man. And so it was really hard when I realized how disposable I was and how no matter how much of myself I gave to these people, they never reciprocated it or never kind of gave me the validation that I needed. And obviously, no one is ever going to do that. My validation comes from within and it comes from God. But at that point in my life, I wasn't aware of that, and that concept was just a little bit too far out of my reach. And
When
it
you
took
say that he intentionally gave it to you, what do you mean
mhm.
by he intentionally gave it to you?
So the person that infected me with HIV knew that they were HIV positive and chose to not get on medication or see a doctor and continue to sleep with women unprotected without
Still to this
disclosing their
day?
status. No, not. Um, it's hard to say. I don't really like talking about this in particular because it's hard to say what the truth is, about his status at the moment. But according to his Instagram page, he has been deceased for about 2 years now, or something like that.
No way, B.
Yeah,
You got to be kidding me.
it was. I ended up being in a relationship with this person, and this person had made up their mind, basically that this was going to be their fate. I don't whether there was no other way around it. So I think they were just trying to do as much as they could with their life in the time that they had left. I don't. Yeah, there was no intention of going to the doctor ever.
And whatever you don't feel comfortable talking about, don't, you don't have to feel like you pressure or anything like that. Like, this is a really low pressure. It's really, educational, and I want to deep dive also into what it means because a lot of people are not educated. A lot of people, it just seems like, they're out here.
Right.
And honestly, if I could just be absolutely frank, I see guys all the time. I talk to guys all the time. I see them having conversations, and sometimes they're laughing about it and they don't even know, and they'll just, quote unquote, see it through. They don't wear protection. They don't marry before they carry. I think that we live in a society where it's very promiscuous. Me, myself, as a person that advocates spiritually, and I live my life based off of a spiritual doctrine, in the Holy Bible. Um, I believe that we can prevent a lot of this by marrying and then aligning ourselves with the way that we're supposed to do according to the scriptures, right? But the way that society is going today, it seems as though it's more popular and it's becoming more popular to celebrate the whole idea of doing things out of purpose, right? And
Mm.
so, at what point did you then come to the realization like life is not over for me? And what did you feel prior to that? What did you feel and how did you find out that you had HIV in the first place?
Okay. So, well,
I know I asked a
um,
lot. I'm sorry.
no, it's
And
perfectly
wherever
fine.
you have the floor, this is your platform. I'm just the person that's facilitating the
Oh my
conversation.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your generosity. And just to clarify, I am pretty open to discussing anything. I am an open book. The thing with the question that you asked is that um, I, the per, basically, I met a group of women that he also infected. And
Mm,
one of the women in particular had resources and was very determined to find out more about the person that we all were in love with and we were all dating at the same time and who did this horrible thing to us, right? And I mean, I found out the craziest things. Like this person that I was dating for 8 months, I didn't even know his name. Like the name that he gave me wasn't his name. Like it was just crazy the amount of things that I found out. A lot of people were accusing me of a lot of different things. And I'm like, listen, I found out the same time that y'all found out. Like,
right, right.
the person that I didn't know this person at all. And so when she hired a PI, a private investigator, and there was we couldn't locate any proof of like no death certificate or anything like that. And so it's not to like create a conspiracy theory. Like that's the last thing I want to do. I don't know. I don't have information about that. So that's the only thing I could like just say, oh, according to his page, this is what they say, but I don't know. If I say that I know something about this person, it's a lie because this person
No,
was
I
really, really
understand.
good at concealing all the truth. But aside from that, right?
Hmm.
Um, so how did I feel when I found out?
Well,
Was
how
that your
did you
question?
find out for the audience? Because I'm familiar,
Okay.
but they may not
Yeah.
be as familiar. And then again, guys, before she answered this, I put all of her information inside of the description of the video. So feel free to go and hit her up if you have additional questions or you want to know more about her story. Go over to her YouTube channel. All of that is in the description. Can you please
Thank
explain
you
to
so
the
much.
audience, if you feel comfortable, exactly how you found out that you had HIV from the person that you were infected by?
Right. So basically, I started getting sick 3 weeks after we met. And I can only say that this was like ordained by God, that God was like, you need to go get tested. And I got tested the day before I met him. The day before I ran into him and I got punched in the face and the whole thing went down, I had gotten tested.
Well,
And
let me, because I'm gonna ask for little details. All right. When you
yeah,
say that you got sick, what do you mean by you got sick? What exactly did that feel like?
so what I was experiencing at that time were the acute stage symptoms of HIV, which is basically the early stage symptoms of your infection or a person's infection when they're infected with HIV.
Hmm.
And what that looks like is just basically your body is literally fighting for its life. I don't want to say words that like can get us in trouble, but like you basically felt like you were going to be unalived at any point. And that is exactly how I felt. My body, you know your body, and me, like
Yeah.
I was one with my body. Like I wasn't a type to ignore pains or headaches or anything like that. So anytime my body spoke to me, I was listening. And yeah, my body was not happy. I had fevers. I had rashes. I was vomiting. That was the first thing that happened.
Mm.
I started getting dizzy one day, and I started vomiting and had diarrhea. And this happened. This persisted for about like 3 days of me just attached to the toilet in the bathroom, and so much so that by the third or fourth day, I ran to urgent care, and they sent me home. They're like, no, you don't have like strep. They tested me for basically everything under the sun except HIV. And
I
that
wonder
was a little
why.
upsetting. I don't know why.
Hmm.
I don't know why. The only thing that I can say is that it was, and I know that people are probably going to think that I'm whatever,
Listen,
but
listen, listen, listen. We don't care. This is let me hold your hand through this, okay? When I do these shows, because they come at me too, right? I don't look at the chat,
Mhm,
number one. And more
mhm,
importantly, I'm not having this conversation for the majority. I'm having this conversation for the people or for the person or for one or two that may hear this and either it saves their lives, right? Or they turn to God, or
yeah,
they wind up, putting themselves in a position to actually benefit as a result of the information. So we doing it for the one or the two, right? And for
right.
everybody that hear this and can leverage this information or your story and benefit from it, that's the reason why we here. So we don't care about what people think. We're not concerned about what the general sentiment is. We're focused on making sure that we tell the story so that we can ultimately learn from it and benefit from it. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't look at that. Just pay attention to me. It's just me and you. We in here by ourselves. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So go ahead.
Um, so I think that the reason, because I went to urgent care 3 times, and the urgent care that I went to was attached to the hospital. So it wasn't, the urgent care on the corner. Like this was attached to the hospital, belonged to the hospital. And I feel as though all 3 times that I went, they didn't test me for HIV. Number one, I think it was their own like bias. Maybe
Mhm.
I didn't look like a person that could have HIV or anything like that. But number two, it was part of the bigger picture because I feel if I would have found out at that moment that I was HIV positive, I would have never like fallen in love with this person, which in turn helped me not hate this person, which helped me not hate myself.
Yeah.
So it was all, I think, in my story, I probably wouldn't even be here today if I would have found out at the moment that I did, because I would have not been able to process it at all. And so basically, 3 weeks after I met the guy who infected me, we started dating. We got together. Okay, we
Yeah.
started going together. There wasn't really no courting or anything like that.
How old
But
were you at the time, if you don't
I
mind me
was,
asking?
yeah, I was 27
Okay.
and he was 37.
Okay.
And I started getting very sick, and I lost about 15 to 20 pounds in those 3 weeks.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really drastic. It was really, really bad. I broke out in rashes. Like I had like they weren't hives, but they were just red dots all over my body, like my extremities, my fingers, my feet, my toes, my legs, and they didn't itch. They didn't hurt. They were just red dots everywhere, like just the weirdest things. And the fever, the cold sweats, the chills, like my body, I can't even describe. Like, if you've ever gotten the flu, this doesn't even hold a candle to it. Like, it was just like
Wow.
10 times worse than the flu. And so while I was going through that process and going to the doctors, the guy would be like, "Please come over. I want to see you." And in my in my heart of hearts, not wanting to get him sick, I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, I don't want to give you what I have. The doctors don't even know what this is. I'd rather not see you. And he was just like, babe, don't worry. You can't give me what you have. You can't get me sick. And I think that that was like the only honest
What?
thing. Yeah, that was the only honest thing that
Did
ever
that
came out of his
register?
mouth.
Did it register with you at the time when he said it, or was you just like going through it so much that you didn't really pay attention to it until afterwards?
No, I thought that it was cute. I thought it was just like, oh,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is
He said,
crazy.
"You
It
can't give
is.
me what you got, so don't even worry about it. Just come on through."
Mhm.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. The only honest thing, honestly. And so, after the acute stage occurs, you basically it becomes dormant. That's what they call dormant. And usually HIV is dormant in this stage where you don't really have symptoms for about
Mhm.
8 to 10 years until it progresses to AIDS, which is when your body actually just like completely shuts down. Now, everyone's body is completely different. Even though I only had HIV for like 5 or 6 months undiagnosed, my CD4 count, which is basically the amount of white blood cells or fighter cells that is they count in your body,
Mhm.
was very low. It was about like 294 CD4 level, and anything under 200 is AIDS territory. So the way that a person acquires AIDS or enters AIDS is just basically time and the amount of white blood cells that is found in your body. If you have less than 200, then you're officially in AIDS territory, and then over 200, then HIV. But I was at
You
294.
literally
So,
are educating me. So I'm learning as you're talking, and that's why I'm just so intrigued with what you're saying. And so, feel free to just talk and say whatever it is that you want to say, whatever messages you want to convey. And then I'll jump in here and there with different questions that interest me. But this is your platform and you can say whatever you want to say whenever you want to say it. So I'm learning
mhm,
as you're talking. And I'm sure that there's plenty of us that's literally, taking this in. And I just don't think that it's a conversation that's being had. We have conversations on whether or not
right,
you should go on coffee dates or whether or not this woman is for the streets or not, but we don't have
yeah,
conversations that's educational that can literally feed our soul and then ultimately save our lives. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just
absolutely.
wanted to say that.
No, absolutely. And so I think that it's very important, especially being that we've talked about my upbringing. If you are a man or a woman and you resonate with the type of upbringing that I had that was very traumatic, that was scarred with sexual trauma or even physical or emotional trauma, um, be aware of that within yourself, because if you haven't done the work, it will manifest.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it takes. You could be 50 years old and then something in you just breaks. And that is all of the pain and the confusion and the what have you that you've been carrying on your back that you just can't take anymore. So if you resonate with that, I strongly suggest that you go find your community, you go seek professional help, you start journaling, you go seek God, because you you're not like saved from this, like it's not like it wasn't like bad luck or anything like that, that I just happened to like that this just happened to happen to me. Like, no, um it was set up that way because of the traumas that I experienced. So and one of the things that has helped me the most is honestly, outside of God and outside of like reading the word and believing what he says about me, is really talking about it, because as
Yeah, I was
you
going to ask you
mentioned
about that.
earlier.
I was literally going to,
Yeah.
because most people would go into a shell, but
Mhm.
you really surprised me because, first of all, I think you already know you're very pretty, right? Which
Oh,
means
thank
that
you.
for whatever reason, we don't think that it can happen. Or even when you said that maybe they didn't, they kind of stereotyped you, and maybe they just thought that, oh no, we're not gonna test her for that.
Right.
It can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter what you look
Right.
like. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how short, whatever it is. It can
Yeah.
happen to anybody. So I'm sure that you probably still get approached. People still
Mhm.
probably shoot they shot at you, and they
Yeah.
have no clue what you've been through.
Right.
That's
No,
pretty
yeah, it's
insane.
true. It's true. It's
Can I
definitely
ask you a
true.
fun question?
Absolutely.
So you live your life regular every single day, going out and about, right?
Mhm.
How many guys try to talk to you on a regular basis?
Um, honestly, I mean, okay, so you have to, okay, there's a few things that we have to factor in here. I live in New York
Okay.
City.
All
So
right.
just stepping out outside, you know, there's gonna be people outside. So I, not to be modest, but I'm saying that just me being a woman, and that already gets the cat calling and the this and the that. But Honestly, not too many people. I think that it also is the way that I carry myself when I was a little bit more, when I had a lower self esteem. I think that people had more courage to talk to me because they felt like they could.
Hmm.
I don't know what has changed. I think that it's just, I don't know, the Holy Spirit in me or the way that I carry myself, that it's very few and in between people that actually approach me and try to really talk to me and, you know, what have you. But I also do have like a beautiful ring on my finger. So, like,
We gonna
the
get. I want to
conversation
ask you about that.
gets
I'm just
short.
trying to take it slow because I want to, just know the whole story. Definitely gonna get into that, and then some other questions, obviously, and the people want to know
Mhm.
about that also. So I'll ask about that shortly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But but
I
when
actually
did you
wanted to answer a question
go
that
ahead?
you about like how did I take it or how did I get to this point?
Hmm.
And this, anybody can take this. Like, this is just like a key that you can take and utilize in your life, whether no matter what you're going through, right? When they told me that I was HIV positive. So just going on, I'll just continue on with that
Yeah, take your
trajectory,
time.
right? So HIV became dormant, so there was no symptoms, not like out there in your face symptoms, but there were a few symptoms that persisted, and these are less than favorable. They're a little not fun to talk about, but we're going to talk about them, okay?
Hmm.
And so one of them was that I had a continual yeast infection. No matter what happened, no matter what kind of medication, I was put on, the yeast infection would go away for like 2 to 3 days and it would come right back. And that was something that was very alarming to me because, again, I know my body and it was just very uncomfortable for many reasons. You know what I'm saying? And that was one thing. The second thing that I felt was a lot of pain when it came to like intimacy with my then man. And that was very alarming to me too because
What do
he
you mean
experienced
by
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
pain.
pain? He was going through a
Uh,
lot of pain also.
yeah, yeah. Like, he would kind of like resent me after we would like finish having sex. Like, it was just the craziest thing. Like,
I
he would
don't know what
actually
that
get
means
mad.
though. What kind of pain though?
I don't know what kind of pain he felt. I don't know if it was just like muscular pain because like his entire body was in pain most of the day. Um, so he never really said what was hurting, but he would just be like, "Oh, now like he would have to lay down. Like, he would just feel really angry and be upset at me after we finished being intimate. But for me, it was just the actual action like hurt me. Like, it actually was just very painful for me. And I don't know if it was just my, a lot of women have the belief that like our bodies speak to us in a way that like is like kind of like sacred or what have you. So I don't know if it was just like my body actually rejecting him. Um, but that caused me to want to go to a doctor. I didn't have health insurance at that time.
Mm,
So I was just like, I'm gonna go to the clinic, and we're already 5 months in. So outside of the yeast infection, outside of the pain, I couldn't gain weight, and I was
okay.
going to the gym. I was like really out here trying to get these gains, okay, and I couldn't. Like, I could not gain a pound. In fact, I was still losing weight, not as dramatically as I did in the beginning, like those 15 pounds, but I basically couldn't go above like 120 pounds. And so that's like I'm a grown
How
woman,
tall are you?
like, and 5'5".
Okay. All right, I got you.
So yeah, so I was very concerned. Like, the last time I was 120 pounds, I was a sophomore in high school. And so I decided to go to the clinic, and I felt something in my spirit, in my heart, like the night before. And I was like, my life is going to change after tomorrow. And I didn't know what exactly was going to transpire, but I'm like, my life is really going to be totally different. And I just feel that. And I went to sleep, and um, thank you, Eric. I went to sleep and I woke up the next day, went to the doctor, and I thought I was going to have a regular day. I've gotten tested before.
Hmm.
I was, like I said, I wasn't monogamous for, the majority of my 20s. So I was not afraid of getting tested. I knew what went down. They do the rapid HIV test. You sit down and you wait for your negative results. You're able to go home, and then you get the rest of your results throughout the week. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just waiting for them to tell me that I'm ready to go home. And then they
Mm-hmm.
call my number. And I'm like, I will get up, I go to the bath, and there's a doctor and a social worker sitting there waiting for me. And they basically tell it to me, you tested positive for HIV.
Mm.
And yeah,
How did you feel when
uh,
they told you that?
I
Was
it
you in
was like
shock?
echoes. Yeah, it was like echoes in a room. I felt like Twilight Zone. Like I heard what they were saying, but it it just felt like a show, like a cartoon show where like the words are flying everywhere and stuff like that. That's what it felt like for me. But something that I realized, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is 100% true, was that before I could even process what being HIV positive meant for me and my life and my future, I made the decision that this was not going to define me. Like
Wait.
sitting down in that
Before you
chair.
go on, before you go on. All right, so right now, guys, we got over 1,400 people inside of the chat watching this on the live stream. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. Also, Bianca's information is in the description of the video. If you want to go and check out our channel, she goes into way more depth than we haven't on this conversation. Go and subscribe to her channel. Go and check out her Instagram. Go and rock out with her, and then let her know that you over here from the Anton Daniels show. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we did that little interlude. All right, go ahead. This is your platform. You have the floor. I'm just literally trying to quarterback this thing. So go ahead, do your thing.
Thank you. Well, yeah, guys, I decided that this was not going to define me, that I was going to define what it meant for me and redefine what being HIV positive means for others. Because being a person that had to live in silence most of her life, when her own great grandfather was molesting her and raping her, I decided I wasn't going to be silent anymore, and that I didn't know that it was going to be at this level. I didn't that wasn't something that I thought out, but I made the decision that this wasn't going to be the thing to define me. And
Yeah.
then once I made that decision, like whenever you decide something for yourself, your brain automatically starts filling in the gaps and starts building new habits and new thoughts, creating new, I guess, like fusions in your brain in order for you to become the thing that you have decided that you are. That's why you can never act outside of who you believe you are. You will always act according to who you believe you are. And so that's a major key right there. So, like, I
Yeah.
decided this was not going to define me. And so at that moment, the journey of healing and restoration and redemption and deliverance began. But it was an uphill battle, 100%. So eventually I started crying. I mean, I was at the clinic for maybe 3 hours. I was there until they closed. I didn't want to leave because
Mm.
I felt like once I had to go, then it was actually real. I felt like if I could contain it in that moment in that clinic, then it wouldn't really affect my life. But
Yep.
they were like, ma'am, you actually have to leave. Like I got escorted out by the security and in
Mm.
tears, in sobs, in hyperventilations, but I had to leave. And thus my new life began.
And then you go home or you go, what happens after that? Like, do you go and tell
um,
him, and then what is his like? What happens? What's the first thing you do after that? After you get escorted out?
that's a good question. So the first,
For me, I'm probably go get a milkshake or something. I go to the Dairy Queen. I don't know. What do you do? What happens after that?
I believe it or not, I went to the gym.
Oh, me.
Those were the plans. Those were the plans that I had. I had my gym bag with me. I thought this was going to be a one, two, three type of situation.
What? Wait. So you got escorted out of the clinic, and then you went and worked out.
I did. I cried in between sets and reps.
And how
I
many
did.
guys tried to talk to you in the beginning, middle of the reps?
Nah, they were like I was actually like sobbing. So
Oh
it
my
wasn't,
God.
I wasn't very friendly at that moment. But to be honest with you, something that I was really like, I found very interesting was that the night that I met the guy who infected me, I actually got punched in the face, because I was very belligerent and what have you.
This is the
So
night that
not
you
by
met him?
him. That was the night that I met him.
Okay.
Um, he was at that time he was doing podcasts with other people. If you guys know who's the person that infected me, then you know the person that he was doing podcasts with, and whatever. They don't need any more publicity on
Wait.
my end.
Bianca. Hold on. Wait a minute. This is new information for me.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, so at that time they were filming. They were filming for a show. I don't remember the name of the show, but and I don't want to. That person I don't want to bring up. I don't want to. I don't want to be on that side
We
of.
speaking in general. We speaking in general. We're not.
Mhm. I'll tell you. I'll tell you who though. I'll tell you who it was. Who this person was like affiliated with, and with the show that they were recording and filming. But anyway, it seemed to be a really good show. I used to watch it like after we started getting like after we got together. I was like, oh okay, this is what you do. This is interesting.
So
But
he was filming with the podcast. He was a part of the podcast that he was filming with.
yeah, yeah, he was part of like that group of people that did this podcast, and they had just finished filming, and
Is this new
that's,
information?
yeah, yeah. I don't talk about it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, but the people that know because like they yeah, the people that know, and I'll tell you like separately, but I just don't want their names to come out of my lips at any point at all because they get rowdy, yo. They get real rowdy, and I don't. I'm a classy lady. I don't want any type of smoke. But anyway, they were finished. They finished doing their podcast, and I was really drunk at that time. And I was on a date. The date went so bad. It was such a bad date, and I was so drunk. And he was like, basically, get out of my face. I never want to see you again. And I'm like, fair. And I left, but I didn't get in a cab or call an Uber. I just decided to walk and be belligerent and mad with my ego hurt and all these other things. Um, One of the guys that he was with started recording me on their phone because, you know, cloud and whatever. And um, we exchanged words and other things occurred where I ended up doing something that's totally not ladylike, and then he punched me in the face. But um,
And then
back to
he
what you,
punched you in the face.
yeah, not the guy who infected me. The guy that infected me actually was the one that ended up saving me. Like that's the first voice that I hear after I come back from like losing consciousness from being on the ground because I was drunk and then I got punched in the face.
Okay, so
And then the first
let me
voice,
put this in perspective. Let's summarize it for the audience. You
yeah,
out with somebody else.
mhm,
You drunk, whatever.
yeah,
You wind up getting into it with the person, and then you wind up leaving.
yeah, yeah. He kicked me out. Like he was just like, I don't like. Basically, what happened was that I started drinking whey protein. Listen, this all has to do with the gym. I started,
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
I
listening.
started drinking whey protein, and, and I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh my Jesus
And so,
Christ.
yeah. So he took me out to Nobu,
He took you out to Nobu. All right,
and
shout out to Nobu.
I
Yeah.
had a very hearty meal, and I double scooped that day for the first time ever. So my stomach was just like not like it was just not happening. And so yeah, like
So then you
the
leave
farts
that
were
you get kicked.
vicious.
So you get kicked out of that, and
Yeah.
then you get into it with somebody else.
Yeah. So then that's when so as I'm walking down the street, just like really embarrassed and drunk, um, there's a group of people. And in that group of people, there's two people that are like pretty important to the story. One of them being the person that punches me in the face, and then the other person being the person that saves me or like
So
helps
somebody
me
punched you in the
up.
face because you got
Yeah,
into it with them, you did something, they punched you in
yeah,
the face, and the
yeah,
person that infected you is the person
yeah,
that saved you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that was your white knight with a dark cape
yeah.
on.
Yes, yes. It's all very
Eh,
ironic and it feels like a movie, but that's it's crazy. It's what it is. Yeah.
The person that infected you is the person that saved you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go, okay, so after you leave the gym, let's jump back to real, well, not real time, but after
But
you leave
yeah.
the gym and you start to, you start to really take it in of what it is that you got to face and what you're dealing with as far as your diagnosis. And then you go and you tell him. When do you tell him?
Yeah. So basically, when I was at the clinic, they told me not to say anything yet because
Why?
they
Why?
needed to. So the reason that they said that or suggested that was because they needed to take my blood and send it to the lab to get confirmatory results.
Okay.
When a person tests positive for HIV, and when I talk about it, I usually say that was the first time I tested positive. Why? Because you have to test positive twice in order for it to be confirmed.
Mm,
Sometimes, it doesn't happen too often anymore, but sometimes people do get false positives, meaning that they test positive for HIV, but they don't have it. I
okay.
wasn't one of those people. When they started asking me questions like, have you been sick? In the last few months, I was like, oh, you don't even need to take my blood to the lab. Like this is what I have. And a
Yeah.
part of me, I'm not gonna lie, I was relieved because I thought the way that I was sick, I really thought that I was going to be receiving different kind of news, like a different type of prognosis. And so, like with like limited time left on this earth type of prognosis. And so, when I finally got the HIV diagnosis, I was like, oh well, this explains why my body was literally fighting against me tooth and nail for almost a month.
Hmm.
And so, a part of me was relieved. Anyway, so they told me wait until you get your confirmatory results before you tell your man or whatever. And mind you, they were asking for his information because they wanted to contact him and have him come in to go get tested.
Okay.
And something about the relationship that I do want you guys to understand is that I was with a narcissist. And I don't mean like I'm not exaggerating. This person was a narcissist and had psychopathic tendencies and behaviors and had multiple lives. Like I was with this person for 8 months, had the keys to his house, and I didn't even know his real first name. So it, it, and this is just like scratching the surface. There's so much more that I found out later on that I was just like, oh my gosh, like how didn't I know these things?
Hmm.
And so by the time that I had gotten diagnosed, we were already together for 5 months, and um, I was trained, I should say. Like I was already brainwashed. Um, my thoughts weren't my thoughts anymore. My actions were basically a reflection, or I basically acted on how I thought he would want me to act instead of what I actually wanted. So when the doctors were like, okay, give us his information so we can contact him, I was like, no, I'm not gonna like let you guys do that to him. I'm gonna be the
You
one to
were
tell
still
him. And then
protecting
he's
him even though that you were diagnosed as a result of him giving it to you. Why?
yeah. Well, honestly, this is another thing with um, like I was broken down like to the point that like I didn't really exist. And so there were many times that I felt like I needed to leave the relationship, but I felt like I couldn't. Like I felt like there was actually like a force pulling me back. And so I've never been in a type of I've been in many toxic relationships before that, but this was totally different in the sense that um I was 100% honest 100% of the time. And it was I've never been in a situation like this or like that before where I felt like completely like at the mercy of another person.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah, I understand that.
And Yeah, so it wasn't logical. Like, I'll be completely honest. Like, it wasn't like a logical decision, and it was dumb and all these things. But that's where uh, that that was where I was. Honestly,
When you
I
tell
didn't
him,
feel like I had other
when you
choices
tell
that
him,
night.
what was his
That night,
reaction when you told him?
um, so I went to work, and then I couldn't work. Like, I was just like, I couldn't work. I started crying. Like, people were just like, "What the heck is going on?" At that time, I used to work at a club, so like, you're trying to go to a club and have a good time, and then this girl is over here crying in the corner. Like, I was just like, I need to get out of here, and so I leave, and I text him right away. I'm like, I need to come over. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. I come over, and I'm like, I tested positive for HIV. And mind you, I was shook. I was so scared because I didn't know how he was going to react. I don't know, And this at this time, this person was getting invited to the White House, like was on the Candace Owens show, like was doing like really
Wait,
big
wait, wait,
things.
wait, 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 wait. Hold on, Bianca. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't expecting this.
So yeah,
No, no, no. This is not bad. This is phenomenal. All right. I wasn't expecting this. You got to back up for 1 second. All right. So the person that you were talking to was getting a lot of visibility at the time.
yeah,
The person that
yeah,
infected you.
yeah.
All right, run that back one more time. Give it to me, because I might have missed it, honestly.
So he was a public figure and a black Republican during the time where Trump was president still, I believe. And so, and it was the year that his reelection was coming up, or like that whole
So
time
around
period was.
2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he was invited to the White House multiple times. Was on the Candace Owens show a few times. Um, did appearances with Stacey Dash. Um, was was really out there, and had a lot of publicity and it had a large following. Um, So when I told him I was scared because I didn't, I took everything into consideration. I was looking at the big picture and, of
Yeah.
course, looking at the person that was in front of me that I obviously care about. And when I told him, he was like, oh.
He didn't
I
trip.
was like, no. I was like, I didn't even know how to, like, really react to the oh. I was just like, well, what do you mean? Like, what are you gonna do? Do you want to go to my doctor? Like, I started coming up with suggestions for him, and he was just like, listen, I don't need your negativity. I do not want to talk about this, and you can stop discussing your negative energy around me because this is not something that I need. And that was
That's what happened
I
when you told him that you was diagnosed.
mhm
Jeez.
yeah, yeah,
B.
yeah, it was negative energy, and I was like, a, a part of me was like a little relieved because I'm like, okay, well, I guess we don't have to fight about this. Like, this is fine. I was like, I have to wait for 10 days to get my confirmatory results. And, this person just knowing that I was going to get confirmatory results and still just looking at me like, okay, like, um, was kind of crazy. And so I got my confirmatory results. We spoke about it, and he told me that he was never going to leave me,
He
that it
told you
didn't
that he was never
matter.
gonna leave you.
No, that it didn't matter what I was going through, that he was never going to leave me. And I felt like I was legit going crazy. Like, I was like, no, this is not.
I wasn't expecting to take a drink tonight, but let me let me go ahead and see. You got the canteen. You probably got something healthy in there.
It's just water.
Not mine. All right. Jeez. All right. Wait a minute. So before we continue, make sure y'all subscribe and y'all go and check out our YouTube channel and our Instagram. The links are in the description. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications. I'll read the super chats afterwards. Give me a second.
I wish I knew what people were saying. Is there a way for me to like?
No, focus.
Oh,
You gotta focus. You got.
okay,
Don't worry
okay,
about what anybody is saying. Let's just stay
okay.
focused.
I'll put it. I'll close it. I'll close it.
Yeah, close it, because I want you to focus because you're doing such a good job of focusing and telling the story. All right, so listen.
Thank you.
All right, so what next? What next? I had questions in my mind based off of the conversations that you were saying, but you hit me with so much right now, so I'm trying to take it all in.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so okay, I know what I wanted to ask you. Dating. So
Hmm.
after all of that happened, he said that he never gonna leave you or whatever like that. So apparently
Yeah.
y'all eventually parted or something like that.
Yeah. Because he gave me chlamydia.
What? What?
Yeah.
What do you mean he gave you chlamydia?
Yeah. So listen, my family, they were just like, you need to leave this guy. My doctor was like, you need to leave this guy. Like everyone in my life that knew about this guy, they didn't need to know that he had given me HIV. I started telling people, like I started telling my close friends, I told my mom. Um, so I started telling people slowly just to like practice what it felt like because I knew I would have to tell people eventually.
Right.
And so it was very low risk people at first, people that I knew loved me. And in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not going to leave him because he needs to get help. Our biggest arguments were always me asking him to go to the doctor. So during this time, he was going out of town a lot, going to DC, doing this, doing that, making appearances. And,
Oh,
you know, I
he's
was,
just still living life like ain't nothing
oh,
wrong.
like nothing's wrong. And like a part of me, like, I, I have to be honest that a part of me was like, I knew what was happening, you know, like I knew that he was just trying to get in as much as he could because whether he wanted to ignore it or not, like you, you know, the truth is that if you are HIV positive and you're not on medication, you will eventually get AIDS and then you will eventually die. And so I knew that a lot of the way that he talked about women was part of the allure that like people liked about him.
What do you
Mind you, I
mean by
never
the
heard of
way
this
that he
person
talked
until
about
like
women? What does that mean?
um you would call him like a red pillar. Like so, you know, like that red pill community. You get a lot of people that agreed with him, disagreed with him, but at the end of the day, they loved when he gave them attention. Type of vibe. Like that's just like when I'm telling you, full blown narcissist. That was the character. That was
Mm.
everything that this person was. And so I knew that he wasn't being monogamous, but I didn't really. I tried to not think about it because the alternative would be me leaving the relationship and I wasn't ready to
Mm.
because I was so hooked. It was so codependent. It was so like a drug, you know? And I don't know if anyone has ever been in that type of relationship where you're with someone that you know is no good, but you just feel like you would die if you were to leave them. And it's very dramatic, but that's literally the feeling that I had. And so in my mind, I was like, well, you know, he might be cheating on me, but number one, I don't have proof. And number two, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's having unprotected sex because he wouldn't. He wouldn't do that. He knows that he either has HIV or has been exposed to HIV and he's not on medication. So he would never do that to people. Like, he just wouldn't. He's always using protection. And so that was the line that I just couldn't cross, right? I'm like, if he's intentionally infecting people, I'm gonna have to leave him. But I don't have proof that he is, so I'm not going to. And God was just like, oh, so this is what it takes? You're gonna find out. And one night he called me over to his place. It was a Friday night. I worked at a club. I could have been at work. And I was like, okay, I come over and he is getting ready, slapping his cologne on, putting on his shoes, looking all fly. And I'm like, oh, like, where are we going?
So wait a minute. So he out
Where are we
here with
going?
full blown multiple different STDs, STIs, whatever you want to call it, and he's still getting fresh to death, and he getting ready to go out and have a good time and make it shake, make it
Right.
do what it do.
yeah, but so basically this was a new infection because okay, listen, I basically lived, the clinic was my third home. My first home was my home, my second home was his home, and then the third home was the clinic. So I
Jeez.
was always there. I was getting blood work done every 3 weeks. Like I was there, like smiling, coming in, just, test me, do everything that you need to do. I was eager to become undetectable. I became undetectable in like 4 weeks, which is something completely unheard of. And so it usually takes about 2 months to become undetectable. And I became undetectable in about 4 weeks. And
Mm.
so I was always there. Like they were testing me for everything all the time because they knew more than I knew that this man could not be trusted. And so this was a new infection. And so he tells me that he's going to a party to Hofstra University. And Hofstra University is a university with university students
Yep.
aged from 18, 17 to 22, 23, maybe 24.
Yep.
And this person was 37. And so he goes to the party and doesn't come back until the next day. And we get into a fight, we make up, and a week later, I don't feel good down there. It's not feeling good. It's not feeling all right. And I'm like, we need to go get this checked out. I
Yeah.
call my doctor. She said, come in right away. We're going to get you tested. And then I got tested the next day. The next day, she's like, you tested positive for chlamydia.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, that, like, it ripped my heart from my chest because I knew what I had to do. And it was something that I didn't want to do. It was something that I wasn't ready for. But that day was the last day that I saw him.
And so you left right then and there.
Yeah. And I went to his
Wow.
place. I found out at my place. I went to his place, grabbed my stuff, and grabbed my medication. And he wasn't even home. He was coming back from a trip in DC. And I left. And um, when he discovered that I was gone, he hit me up and was like, "Oh, I bet you want to destroy my life, don't you? I bet you're gonna go and tell people, aren't you?" And it was just for me to say, like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone. Like, I wouldn't do that to you. I don't want to hurt you. And it was never to apologize. It was never for anything. Like, it was
Mm.
just to protect himself. Yeah.
So, all right. So let me fast forward a little bit. You got a ring on your finger.
hmm I do. So dating, we broke up. Yeah, dating was. I've never been a good dater. That's just not like dating life is not for me. I don't know how people do it. I feel like if I were to go on dates, I would fall in love right away. Like that's just not for me.
Well, let me
Thank
let me let me
God.
back up. Let me back up, Bianca, because okay, so wait a minute. This when did y'all break up? Like 2020, something like that?
2019 October,
Okay.
and
So
he was gonna go
y'all
to Carnival, Miami Carnival that weekend. Child, no, no, no.
so y'all break up and you move on. Okay, so I got so many questions. I got so many questions. My head is turning and I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to put it all in perspective.
Okay,
Wait,
so
are
okay,
you married?
yes, so
Okay,
okay,
wait. Before we get into that, let me ask you another question. So you didn't have any children prior to this,
no,
but you got
no,
children now. You got a kid
I
now.
got a child. Yeah, I got a daughter.
B, all right.
She's
I'm
3.
so out of the loop. I don't understand. I'm very uneducated when it comes to this. I'm so ignorant. Not even uneducated. I'm so ignorant, right? Because I
Mm,
don't know. I don't know
mm,
how. I don't know what, when, where, how, why, none of that. Okay. So the person that you married to now is the person that you have a
mm-hmm.
kid with.
Yeah,
And remember, you don't have to answer anything that you don't feel comfortable answering. Okay.
no problem.
So the person that you married to now is the person that you got a kid with.
Yes.
How?
Um. uh, okay. So okay. So something that a lot of people don't know. I want to just give a little nugget of education and information is that when someone is diagnosed with HIV and they are still having unprotected sex, they can get reinfected with another version, another strain of HIV.
Is more than one strain of HIV?
Yes,
Really?
yes, there's multiple.
Okay.
And so, Yeah, because the thing with
You
HIV,
the
HIV is
teacher. I'm the
extremely
student. I don't know anything. I'm honest to God. Like I'm really learning as we, and that's why I'm so curious and I'm asking the questions, not just for myself, but for people that also don't know, but we are afraid to ask questions because it's taboo. It's just not something that's really discussed openly like that. And
right.
so let me just say that I appreciate you for even coming on and educating me
Oh, thank
personally
you.
as a
Thank
result
you.
of it. But go ahead. This
Thank you
is
for
your
having
platform.
me.
This is your platform. You're free to say whatever you want to say, and you're free to come back whenever you want to. I just want to leave
I'm
that.
actually texting my man right now and want to say hi.
You texting? You
Okay.
texting your man?
Yeah. Just wondering if he wants to say hi. I don't know if he wants to say hi. But
If he wants to say
anyway,
hi, oh, I love.
yeah.
I'd love for him to be able to say hi if he wants to. Right after
Yeah.
you though. After you, because I got to
Yeah.
get the rest of this out.
No, he's very a man of little words. But okay, so yeah, so basically you can get reinfected with another version of the virus, which can lead to many different complications because your medication will not be as effective, or it will take more medication to have you in a healthy state. And so,
Wait. Before you educate us, let me say this. You know that the girls is gonna be mad at you, right?
why?
Because there's women out here that complain on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube all day long about how they can't find a man.
Yeah.
And you wind up getting married even after you got diagnosed. How?
Okay, well, okay. To answer that question, women say that they want a man, but they really don't. Because if they did, they would have one. Um, and
Ooh.
that's just and look at it from a deep perspective. You have to ask yourself, what do you really want? You know, do you want a man or do you want attention? You know, but anyway, how did that happen? I decided that, like I said, I decided that this was not gonna define me. Like I'm a person that needs to be in love. Like I wasn't gonna be lonely because of this.
Oh, this is
And
hilarious. Okay, so go ahead. I'm listening.
yeah, that was facts. Like I wasn't gonna be lonely because of this. And something that I realized very early on is that me, there's another video that went viral a few times about like me crying, like boohoo crying, about me telling a guy that I was HIV positive, and he asked me if, like, you know, if I gave him HIV through kissing, and I'm like, he was freaking out, like when I'm telling you, like full blown freaking out, and I was just like, no, 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 I'm undetectable, number one, so I can't give you anything, even if we did
I don't.
everything,
So
which we
you
didn't.
can't. Wait. What does that mean to be
All right.
undetectable? Because
Okay,
remember,
so
you got to talk to me like I'm a C student. Because I don't know. I have no clue whatsoever.
So when a person is undetectable, or when an undetectable status is basically when you're undetectable, you're untransmittable, meaning that you cannot transmit the virus. The virus is so tiny in your bloodstream that it cannot be detected or picked up by traditional exams. Therefore, it's virtually non-existent. I'm still HIV positive, but I cannot transmit it to anyone
So
via
you live in a
sexual
regular
intercourse.
life. You really unaffected by it whatsoever, as long as you stay
A
on top
hundred
of it.
percent. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's honestly more mental. Like what's worse now more than anything is the stigma. The stigma is worse than the actual disease. And I say that all the time, or not all the time, but I say that often, and people get really offended by that. But the reality is that the stigma is far worse than the actual disease is. It's not what it was in the 80s and 90s, not by a stretch.
It's over 2,000 people that's watching this right now. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe for the channel, and turn on your notifications. And make sure y'all go and subscribe to our channel. The link is in the description. Okay, so
Yeah.
undetectable, but then you date. How does dating go prior to you getting married? What is that like? Like, do you have to
It,
communicate it? What do you do? How do you do that?
oh, okay. So I'm my own person, so I can only speak from my experience. But basically, um, disclosure is a personal choice. So I know that that sounds very selfish to say, but people need to know this. No one owes you honesty. I am honest because that is who I am,
Hmm.
but people do not owe you honesty. You cannot bet your life and your safety and your health on someone being honest with you, because there are many people that are walking around with HIV that know that they're HIV positive and are not sharing it with you and are not on medication. There are people that are walking around with HIV that don't know that they're HIV positive and are not on medication. And there are people that are HIV positive, they know it, and are on medication and are undetectable and are not sharing their status.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then there's people like me that just share their status. But
Why do you have
it's
so much
hard because
courage? Where did you get this courage from?
I think it's just from me resenting myself for not being able to speak up for myself when I was a child. That I feel like I owe it to my younger self to always speak up. And I realized that my vulnerability is my superpower. When I told the guy who blocked me, the first guy that I ever told blocked me, I was so devastated because I was rejected for something that I don't have any control over, and that was something that I wasn't used to. And I don't mean it to be boastful. I mean, I was rejected before for being like crazy and for being slick out the mouth and for all these things that I could control. I was essentially perfect in this person's eyes until I told him that I was HIV positive, and that's where he was like, nah. And so something about disclosure is that when you disclose or when you're vulnerable, period, you are being vulnerable for you, not for the other person. So when you share anything that's vulnerable about yourself,
Hmm.
do it without expecting a person to appreciate or accept you. You're doing it for yourself. And so that is something that helped me on my journey, because this person rejected me, but I didn't tell him for him. I told him for me because I
Right.
knew that I had to go out there and do it. And what he ended up telling me before he blocked me was like, "Don't worry, I got you. I'm not going to tell nobody." And I was like, "Oh, so you think that you have something on me?" And I was just like, "No, this can't be. This cannot be." Are you gonna? Did you see my text message? He just got the shower. We'll see if he steps by and says hi. But anyway, um, so that's when I realized that I was just like, nah, I have to own this, because like, so what? I'm gonna live my life in fear and at the mercy of other people. Like that's just not me. Like it can never be me. And so that's when I got my courage. But the courage really was just like no option. The other option was me living in fear for the rest of my life, wondering when someone's gonna out me. And I'd rather out myself before
Mm. You
anyone
took
thinks
the you
that
took the
they're,
Eminem way. You took the Eminem.
yeah, yeah, basically.
Pretty good. That's pretty
Because
funny.
what do you got to say? Yeah. And
So
so
then,
with
how did
hmm
you meet your husband?
at the club where I worked at.
And then what did you? I'm at a loss for words. I don't know. I don't know what to ask you next because I got so many
Mhm.
other questions.
Mhm.
All
I
right,
think we're
so
gonna have to do a part two. We're gonna have to do a part two because
all right,
like
you
it's
want to
getting
do a part two?
late.
All
I
right,
think
all
we're gonna
right,
have to, because and then I could really tell you things that I couldn't say online, because
all right.
there's things that you
Listen,
want to know.
we do a part two under one condition:
What's that?
no exclusives. Nobody else can interview you until we do our part two.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, okay. So when is the part two?
When you want to be part two,
Um,
we can do it Friday.
we
We can
could
do it
do
2 days from now.
um. Okay, if that works. I mean, if that, yeah, I'm
Do
done.
you? Are
We
you? I don't know. Are you busy? Do you think you got time? Because we got a
I
lot to go over. I got so many other questions.
no, we could definitely do Friday 9:15.
Nine. Listen. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Let's not do Friday. Let's do. We got to make them wait.
Do you want to do next week, same time?
Wednesday. Let's do Wednesday next week.
Okay,
You want to do Wednesday next week?
I'm done.
Make sure y'all subscribe to Bianca's channel. The link is in the description. Make sure that y'all also tap into her Instagram. So all of that information, I already put it down in the description. In addition to that, is it anything else that you want to say or that you want to talk about prior to us ending this live stream?
No,
B. Bianca.
Say
Oh,
thank you so much.
oh, there you go.
I'm
Okay,
here.
you back. You was frozen up. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you so much for everyone in the comments. Um, I don't know what else to say
You
except
know
that like it's
the
not a
channel gonna
coincidence.
go crazy. But that's why we're gonna do it next week because you know they got a week to take it all in and put it all together.
Yeah. Yeah, all I can say is to do things God's way. It's much easier that way. My dad would always tell me, God is going to get you to your knees. Either he's going to guide you and you're going to do it on your own, or he's going to break the knees and you're still going to end up there. So I'm just like,
Hey,
so guys, if you feel like you've been running away from God, or you feel like there's a calling over your life, that you feel like maybe you've sinned too much, or maybe whatever excuse me you may tell yourself, let me tell you, God is not done with you. This is not a coincidence. This is um, this has been fun and honestly a breath of fresh air for me. But at the end of the day, we're here for a purpose and a calling, that is to serve God and to bring Him
you do
glory. And
realize that when you first came, when we first started interacting, you were very apprehensive. You're a
I
natural.
was
As you talked, you loosened up. You was chill. You started smiling more. You had a good time. You're a natural.
definitely had a good time. Thank you, thank you.
Told you was
No,
gonna
it's
have fun.
yeah, it was fun. I'm really thankful to be here. I'm thankful that you reached out.
I'm thankful
Now I
that you.
gotta watch that video. I haven't seen the video and
Oh man,
of
no,
you
you can't watch
reacting.
it.
So
You can't watch it. The
no,
reason, because I didn't know you.
it's okay. I honestly
No, you can watch
listen.
it. It's fun. It's funny anyway. But listen, this is what we gonna do. Exclusive next
hmm
week, next Wednesday. I'm gonna have my girl Bianca come back. Until then, make sure y'all all subscribe to her channel. B, I love you. I appreciate you. Go and have
Love you
fun
too.
with your
Thank you.
husband and do your thing. Bye.
Thank
Close
you.
this. All right. See you,
We're
baby.
gonna do that. Bye.
All right. Bye. Oh my God. What is my life becoming? Shout out to Bianca. I love her. I love the people. But more importantly, I love y'all. And it was an opportunity for me to educate y'all, entertain y'all, and then also introduce somebody new that is a part of my friendship circle that obviously has a story to tell. I think that there are so many other conversations personally that we should be having on these platforms. I'm going to read the super chat shortly. I think that there are so many more conversations that we need to be having, and very few people can bring it to you like Anton from antondaniels.com. I hope that y'all subscribe to the playlist of the new show. It's called The Anton Daniels Show. That is on my channel. If you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. I'm gonna have to push Stock Club back because it's so much that we got to take care of, so much that we got to go into. I got my drinks. We making sure that we get it in. We're gonna be back next Wednesday at 9:15 in order to continue this conversation. I hope that y'all tuned in. I got so much information and so many good guests that's lined up for you guys, and you have no idea what you're in for. So while all of them other guys sitting there getting mad at each other, throwing darts at the wall, trying to figure out what they're gonna do next, creators create, innovators innovate, and we're going to continue to hit y'all over the head until the end of time with some of the best content on the face of the earth. And you can only get it here at the Anton Daniels channel. All right. Let me go ahead and read some of these super chats. Oh, absolutely. She's part of the friendship circle, Q. 100%. Let me read some of these super chats and then we're going to get y'all up out of here so that we can do the Millionaire Morning Show in the morning. High Tolerance says, what truly sold you on rocking with TH? What is TH? Somebody tell me what TH is. What truly sold you on rocking with TH? I don't know what TH is. I'm going to come back to that. Ghost Introvert says, didn't check you for HIV because you don't fit the stereotype. That's a fact. That usually happens. Chris Bow, 777. Let me give you the round of applause. Says, respect to Bianca and Anton for having this difficult conversation. Oh, we had a ball. And shout out to you for the 50 ball for supporting the platform. I absolutely appreciate you. No excuse. ENT says she proves that being beautiful is a privilege. Usually kids or an STD humbles a woman. Well, nah, she said that we're not stopping that. We're not stopping it. Let the show continue. Leland Brown says, I called her. I'm going to read the Cash Apps also shortly. I called her a reckless idiot earlier today. I apologize. Her experience is the perfect example of how selfish people in this world to knowingly spread a deadly disease. Her childhood trauma is proof why a dad's protection and guidance is required. I rock with that. Thank you, Leland. I appreciate you. Let me give you the round of applause also. My dog 2K is in the building. 2K says, quick tip. You can never get an STD if you never get tested for it, but then you can't get the medication. You know what I'm saying, 2K? Biz Q in the building says nearly 50% of HIV cases in the U.S. are black people. Yet only 13% of the population for ages 14 through 49, nearly 50% of black women have genital herpes, 39% of men. Be safe. Be safe out here in these streets. High Tolerance says, salute to you, Bianca. Let this serve as a reminder for ladies and gents to be sexually responsible and disciplined. Thank you, High Tolerance. Q, shout out to my girl Q. Yes, she is a part of the friendship circle. She is a guest to the show and one of my friends. High Tolerance says, you evolving, big dog. Listen, we can't stay in the same place. They wanted me to sit here and still be doing a show with Freezy on Wednesday night. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I said, look, get him on up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Q says, a lot of y'all men would still date her too. You know they seeing it through. Q. You know they gonna see it through, Q. Let me read some of these Cash Apps, and then I'm gonna make sure that I get y'all up out of here for the day. Gavin Turner says, this interview just won't go viral, but win awards. I agree. Shout out to my dog, Gavin Turner. And then my dog, shout out to my dog, says, she was a very pleasant guest. She was, wasn't she? She was a sweetheart. She was absolutely a sweetheart. Shout out to Bianca. Again, all of her information is down in the description of the video if y'all want to go and tap in with her and rock out with her too. And shout out to Q. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to all of my friends that tapped in. Oh, Teej Hanley. They said, what made you rock out with Teej Hanley? Because Teej Hanley is the truth. Make sure y'all get that Teej Hanley 30%, 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. That link is down in the description. Also, on top of that, make sure that y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. There is no show better than what we do over here at the Anton Daniels channel. There is no show better than what we do over here at the Anton Daniels channel. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take this all in. We back at it next Wednesday. Shout out to High Tolerance. I appreciate you, big dog, for supporting the platform. Teej Hanley is the best product. That's why we rock out with it. I'm going to holler at y'all later.